Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Hurls, and this is another special episode of the HeelCast. This episode is going to be reviewing Impact Wrestling One Night Only Bad Intentions. It was exclusively on the GWN, and that's what this episode is going to be. I also want to update you guys. There will be a HeelCast that's going to happen very soon. Hopefully it will be this week, but if not this week, for sure next week. There's a lot of news to discuss, as well as a lot of stuff that's been going on the show, and I'm working hard to get one going, but we'll see if that happens. I myself was very busy the last few weeks, trying to play catch up. Fell behind a little bit. I think that pretty much happened to a lot of other HeelCast members. They've been really busy with, kind of wrapping up summer vacations and whatnot and family life. So we're definitely hoping to get back on track in the next few weeks, especially with Bound for Glory coming up. Definitely want to get that going and talking some Impact for you guys. So, all right, without any further ado, let's jump in to Bad Intentions. This was the August One Night Only. The One Night Only aired August 31st. It was in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, at the Don Koloff Arena. It was the same one as Zero Fear. First match was Ohio versus Everything, Dave Christ and Jake Christ. They fought the Desi Hit Squad of Gursinder Singh and Rohit Raju. I thought this match was a pretty good opener. It was nice to see two tag teams that, we really haven't seen a lot in a while. They've been kind of off the past few weeks, but it was definitely good to see them, and it was good to see them be able to kind of showcase a little more in a match that's not sanctioned by, time restraints, really. But ultimately, we saw the Chris defeat the Desi Hit Squad. It was a solid opener, and it was a good match. Especially good to see the tag team division with a little more depth than it has been. The second match was Channing Decker versus Clayton Gaines. These two are two young athletes. I think they got a lot of potential to be on an Impact broadcast. I think they both got great look to them, and I could definitely see them being a prominent role in Impact Wrestling. They really focused on that these two, whoever won, could have a shot at the main roster in the future. So ultimately, it was Channing Decker who defeated Clayton Gaines. I thought it was a solid match, and I think both guys have a bright future ahead of them. Also want to mention that Channing Decker is part of the, I believe it's called the Fraternity Tag Team. So it's interesting. I think he's got a really nice future ahead of him. Third match was Phil Atlas with manager Pasquale Di Papa. He defeated the Australian Greg Osborne. I thought that was a pretty good match. We've seen both of these guys around. We've seen them either on some, impacts or explosions or past one night onlys. But we've seen both of these guys. Greg Osborne fought Sami Callihan a while back on an Impact, so it's cool to see some of these guys that you're kind of getting familiar with, and I think they are really good wrestlers. And this match was okay, but it really didn't do a lot for me. Basically, Phil Atlas was just kind of dominating the whole time, especially with having a manager. So decent match, but Phil Atlas gets the win. The fourth match was Casey Spinelli versus Kiera Hogan. I'm a huge fan of Casey Spinelli. I thought she gave a great pre-promo, and I really like her work. Obviously, we've also seen her with Sue Young as one of the Undead Brides. The one thing I really wish they would do with Casey Spinelli, though, is pick one or the other. Either pick her solo career or just join her up with the Undead Bride, because I think most people know that she is an Undead Bride, and I think it just really looks kind of cheesy if you're trying to do both and play it off like she doesn't, like she's not one of them. But it was good to see Kiera Hogan get some more ring time. Kiera Hogan ultimately gets the win over Casey Spinelli. But decent match. I think they definitely need to do more with Casey Spinelli, though, going forward. But I agree with the finish here. You got to develop Kiera Hogan. She's very young, and you definitely got to see what you got in her. So, the good match. Fifth match I actually thought was really good. It was a triple threat between Dustin Quicksilver, Ace Austin, and Aiden Prince. Once again, 3 guys you've seen throughout on either a Twitch or an Explosion or a One Night Only, even some Impacts. I thought this match was really good. It ended up getting Aiden Prince the win, but solid triple threat match. The 6th one was a little bit of a change of pace. We have our beloved Stone Rockwell coming back, giving a really funny promo. And the opponent I thought was perfect for him as well. His name was Holden Albright. He had a wolf mask, like a pretty freaky looking wolf mask. And the whole thing with Holden Albright is when he takes that mask off, the fans chant, "Put the mask back on," because if you look at Holden Albright, he's not the most attractive man you're ever going to see, okay? He's a little rugged, let's just put it that way. And he's got a very unique build to him, but I think it kind of goes well with how he's portrayed. His moveset was very unique as well, and I think it played into the gimmick well. But Stone Rockwell obviously does a lot of comedy, but also he can he can wrestle as well and get kind of serious in there. So Stone Rockwell gets the win over Holden Albright. I thought that was a pretty entertaining match. The 7th match was actually for the Impact Knockouts Championship. It was Giselle Shaw, we've seen her one other time, versus Tessa Blanchard. And, this was actually a really good knockouts match. I thought Giselle Shaw looked pretty strong, but, Tessa Blanchard ultimately got the win and looks like a fighting champion. So it was a very good match, and I enjoyed it. The 8th match, I think, may have been the match of the night. As a matter of fact, I think it was. It was a specialty match because it was Petey Williams versus New Japan's own Michael Elgin, a.k.a. Big Mike. So it was kind of cool to see Big Mike in Impact Wrestling for the first time, I believe, that he's ever stepped foot in an Impact Wrestling ring. But Michael Elgin, he kind of reminds me of a Scott Norton. He's not as big as Scott Norton, but he's got a similar build to him. But this match was very, very good. Back and forth. Elgin got, a lot of his signature moves in, and, he was very intense, and his moves look very punishing, so that was good. And Michael Elgin gets the win over Petey Williams, but this match was about 16 minutes long, so this is one match that you definitely have to check out when you do watch this, because it is really cool to see Elgin and Petey Williams, go one-on-one. So that was very cool. And then finally we get the main event. It was a rematch from one that we saw at Zero Fear. It was in a cage, and it was to determine the number one contender to the Destiny World Championship. And it was Sami Callihan versus Josh Alexander. Now, this match was pretty brutal because Sami Callihan did a garbage spot. He hit Josh Alexander with a garbage can, and it must have just hit a blood vessel, because blood just started pouring out of Josh Alexander. Kind of reminded me of the whole Eddie Guerrero versus JBL match. To this day, I have a hard time watching just because of all that blood coming out. Well, this match was right up there with that. It was pretty brutal, but it was a good match. I just don't know if it was as good as their last match at Zero Fear, but ultimately Josh Alexander wins the match. He beats Sami Callihan to be the number one contender. So that was Bad Intentions. I don't think it was as good as Zero Fear because of the roster wasn't as strong as it was on Zero Fear. The reason for that was because they were actually taping 2 shows on the same night in different locations. They were actually taping Night of the Dummies in Binghamton, New York as well when this was being taped. And that's why we had Scott D'Amore and Don Callis on commentary, which were very good, by the way. But it was just kind of interesting how they kind of split the rosters up. So they weren't as deep as, normally they would have had it. But all in all, though, it was still a very good show. And that steel cage match was brutal, but very fun to watch. So ultimately, I'd probably give this event like a 6.8 out of 10. I don't think it was the strongest one-night-only pay-per-view. It was good, but not the best we've seen. I think Zero Fear was probably still my number one one-night-only of the year so far. So anyways, yes, that was Bad Intentions. I give it a 6.8 out of 10. I'm going to be doing the next special episode of the HeelCast I'll be doing will be the MediaCon review, which was a Twitch show. So I'm looking forward to that. And also, like I said, we are going to have a HeelCast, darn it. I will make sure it happens this week. I'll get some of the guys back on the same page, and we'll get a show out for you guys because there's so much news to talk about. Anyways, this is Hurls. This is the HeelCast. We'll catch you very soon.